Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Colton Rice Show! And now, here's your host, Colton Rice! Hello everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to the Colton Rice Show, the podcast where OBS just doesn't want to work today. It basically makes me feel sad. Like, really extremely sad for no apparent reason. Why? I don't know. I'm just trying to, put on a show that was supposed to happen April 7th, but unfortunately, we were celebrating my dad's birthday, and basically that took like 2 hours to celebrate and stuff. So unfortunately, couldn't get around to it, so I postponed it to Tuesday, because that was the next available day I had. And therefore, you guys are getting 2 shows this week. Today and this Friday. But you're probably like, Colton, you're probably like running out of topics right now. Shouldn't you just wait till like this coming Friday? Well, don't worry folks, I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I've got like plans up the wazoo to entertain you all. So yeah. And if you're just wondering what that sound was, it was me opening a bottle of water so I do not like cough on the air and stuff and all that jazz. But yeah. Anyways, it's time for us to talk about our 4 topics today, and we got a lot of topics to talk about, so let's get down to business with the first topic. So, on December 17th, 2021, I saw probably one of the best superhero movies of all time. Probably the best movie of all time. The best movie of all time. And you're probably like, what is this best movie of all time? Well, you technically know, because I already put it down in the description of the video of the live stream. It is a movie called Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, if you guys don't know what Spider-Man No Way Home is, it's basically basically a Spider-Man movie, but with the new Spider-Man, Tom Holland. As, like, before seeing, this movie, Spider-Man No Way Home, I have not seen Spider-Man Homecoming or Spider-Man Far From Home. I've only seen the original trilogy, Spider-Man's 1, 2, and 3, directed by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire. Those are the only movies I saw. Those are all the movies I saw. The Spider-Man movies. And hold on. I need to fix my mic real quick. There we go. So, basically, my microphone, one of the wires was, like, out of its holding spot. So, popped it back into place, make sure it's all good and stuff. Double checking, make sure everything's all good. And, yep, everything's all good. So, we're all good. Cool. But, yeah. Spider-Man No Way Home, I saw this movie, and it was great. It was a really great movie. But I didn't see the 2 movies before, like going to the theater and watching Spider-Man No Way Home. But I got the gist of it. I technically any movie any movie sequel I see, I kind of get the gist of like the first couple of movies. Like, I get what happens and stuff, blah blah blah. Like Spider-Man No Way Home, it's basically Peter Parker, trying to become that superhero like Iron Man, like trying to become like Iron Man, but blah blah blah, great power, responsibility, blah blah blah. But they don't really say it. In that movie, the great power comes great responsibility. But basically, Iron Man's just a jerk, not letting him do his thing, and basically, he basically becomes an Avenger, technically, in this movie. And he also fights Vulture and Shocker, which is pretty cool. we never got to see Tobey Maguire go up against like Vulture or Shocker. But technically he did. Like Tobey Maguire also did the voice of Peter Parker and Spider-Man in the Spider-Man movie video game where he fought Shocker and Vulture. But if you ask me, they should have done it in real life as well, because that would have been cool. But yeah. And then, Spider-Man Far From Home, it's basically Mysterio being a jerk with his Master of Illusionist and stuff. And then somehow he frames Spider-Man for murdering him and being a jerk and stuff. And therefore, this gives us the introduction of the return of one of the great ones, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Now, J. Jonah Jameson is a very, very hard Spider-Man character to cast. But the person who is exactly right for the job is J.K. Simmons. Seriously. J.K. Simmons has to be the best, and I mean the best, J. Jonah Jameson that we will ever have. Why? Because, gosh darn it, he made the most greatest, like, Spider-Man hater come to life. He made J. Jonah Jameson come to life on the big screen, and it's amazing. It was truly amazing. And I am happy that we got to see a J. Jonah Jameson in real life. Like, seriously. If you watch any of the animated series, they're pretty good, but nobody tops J.K. Simmons. Seriously. And now we get into the movie of No Way Home. So, No Way Home, it's basically, after Peter Parker gets framed for murdering Mysterio because, Mysterio's a jerk. He's always been a jerk. And basically, Spider-Man gets charged, Peter Parker gets charged for being a jerk and murder and stuff, but luckily, Daredevil, who is played by, who was that guy? I'm forgetting, actors' names that I've seen. So I'm just gonna go pull up the cast, list, because I know who he is. Like, I've seen his face in movies before. Who was it? Who was Daredevil? I want to see Daredevil. Daredevil, where is he? Daredevil. Charlie Cox, that's his name. I was beginning to think, it was a Charlie name, but I didn't know if it was, I was really, there's like two famous Charlies in Hollywood, Charlie Day and Charlie Cox. But Charlie Cox is the one who played Daredevil. And / Matt Murdock. Which was pretty cool seeing Daredevil, help out Spider-Man, because he's helped out Spider-Man before in like the comics and the animated TV show. So it was pretty cool to see him there. Even if it is just for a few minutes. But yeah, basically Spider-Man gets acquitted on all charges of murder, but Jon Favreau's character, Happy Hogan, basically he's getting accused of stealing technology from Stark Industries. So yeah, he's still in a heap of trouble, but not Peter. But then, there's a battle of public opinion, because, technically the court of public opinion that, everybody's got one side. Like, there's one side that supports Spider-Man, which is Peter Parker, and then there's one that they don't like Spider-Man / Peter Parker. And basically they just, go back and forth. Even his school, Flash Thompson, trying to get some, hey, I'm Spider-Man's friend and stuff. That I was like, whoa, that's actually something Flash Thompson would do in like maybe the animated series, but in the comics, probably not. I don't know. I haven't read any of the comics with Flash Thompson in it. I have like no Spider-Man comics with like Flash Thompson, unfortunately. I wish I did, but oh well. So yeah, basically, Peter, his friends, Ned Leeds, and MJ basically, get all caught up in this, and therefore this leads to them not getting into college, which sucks for all of them. Until, Peter Parker decides, what should I do to, have this not happen? And then it kicked up in his mind. Doctor Strange. He's a magic man. He can do all sorts of spells and stuff. So yeah, Peter Parker goes to Doctor Strange to basically say, hey, I screwed up when, Mysterio, well, technically I didn't screw up. Basically, Mysterio has made my life a living heck for me and my friends. I need to change this very quick. So please help me out here. And, Strange's sidekick or friend or whatever, Wong, he's like, this doesn't seem like a good idea. Maybe you should just not do that. But, Wong, he just goes on his merry way, says, I don't want to be a part of this, so you just do you, bro. And so Doctor Strange and Peter Parker go and do the spell, which is the entire world will forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And then Doctor Strange says, nice knowing you, Spider-Man. And when he says that, he's like, hey, is everyone gonna forget about me? He's like, yep, that's how the spell works. But wait, I think my girlfriend should know. And then he's like, oh wait, my Aunt May, and then Ned, and blah 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 blah. And then basically he talks too much, and then therefore makes the spell go crazy, and Strange contains it before it gets out of hand. And basically, Strange is mad. He's like, you changed my spell 6 times. And then Peter's like, it's technically 5. And then Strange's like, you do not get to change that spell. You do not do that. And basically, it's crazy. It's crazy about Strange, arguing with Peter. It's kind of funny. But, yeah, basically, Strange explains, hey, maybe you doing 2 different lives, being Peter Parker and Spider-Man, is, like, impossible. Maybe you should, choose between being Peter Parker or being Spider-Man. And then he says something about, talking to the college admissions people. And Peter was like, wait, I could do that? And then Strange was like, are you kidding me? You could have talked to them before you told me to brainwash the entire world. And then he kicks Peter out of his house, which is extremely funny. So basically, Peter calls Flash Thompson, and basically he gets the location of where the admissions lady to MIT is, and therefore he tries to talk his way, and also his friend's way into MIT. But then, the greatest thing that could ever happen in a Spider-Man movie happens. The return of Doc Ock, played by Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina as Doc Ock again. I was like, oh, it's Doc Ock. My Doc Ock. Oh, yes. 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 I've been waiting for this moment to see Tom Holland go up against Doc Ock's Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. Oh my goodness, this is about to be so crazy. And it was pretty crazy. Like, seriously, it was Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the Iron Spider suit going up against Doc Ock. And it was a pretty good battle. And then, the admissions lady actually got in trouble. Like, her car was about to fall off the edge of the highway. And then all of a sudden, Peter Parker being Spider-Man, he saves, the emissions lady's life. And then Doc Ock comes out of nowhere and just flings him around, beating him up and stuff. And then he rips his suit off. Well, not completely off, but he rips a part of his suit off. And basically, the nanotechnology from that suit is now transferred to Doc Ock. I was like, oh boy, I did not know that could happen. And then Doc Ock tries to, kill Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and then he stops it by transferring, his mask part of the suit to the area where it was compromised. And basically, Doc Ock's like, huh, what? And then he pulls Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and he's like, wait a minute, you're not the Peter Parker I remember. And then Tom Holland's like, what? And then all of a sudden, since the nanotechnology from Tom Holland's suit got onto Doc Ock, he can now control Doc Ock's arms. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. That is insane. But hey, it's neat. It's very, very neat. So yeah. Basically, Peter Parker kind of defeats Doc Ock by controlling his arms and saving the MIT lady. And basically, she says, thank you for saving me. I will talk to the emissions people about you, your friends, and stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And basically, everything seems right. So Doc Ock's been defeated. Nothing can ruin this day until I hear a boink, 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 like a metal boink. Like multiple metal boinks, and it was like, oh, it's a pumpkin bomb, and it explodes, and then the Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, comes out of nowhere, and Doc Ock's like, Norman? Or like, well, technically he said Osborn, and I was like, holy crap, they know each other. Well, of course they know each other, they're well-known scientists. Duh! And they're in the same universe. Duh! And then, whoosh, Doctor Strange teleports him to the Undercroft, where they, did that spell. And basically, he was like, Doctor Strange, and then wham! The lizard from The Amazing Spider-Man comes out of nowhere. And then Doc Ock tries to, take him down, but they were blocked by a magic wall. And then Doctor Strange's like, you should have been careful for what you wish for, dude. And then Peter's like, what the heck is going on here? And then Doctor Strange is like, well, remember when you said you want everybody to forget who Peter Parker was Spider-Man? Well, unfortunately, that brought everybody who knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man into this crazy universe, And basically he says the multiverse is a concept which we know frighteningly little about. And Tom Holland's Peter Parker's like, the multiverse is real? Of course it's real. It wouldn't be a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie if you didn't talk about the multiverse. It's in the comics, dang it. So yeah, basically, there's a bunch of, basically the universes of The Amazing Spider-Man and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy have combined into Tom Holland's, little universe. So basically, all Tom Holland needs to do is round up these, these creatures and thus, send them back to their universe. And he gets the help of Ned and MJ to, defeat these guys. So, basically they start searching for these guys. And then, when, Peter Parker starts to go after the Green Goblin, Doc Ock's like, it can't be him. It's impossible. And basically explains about Norman Osborn, and says that Norman Osborn died. And basically said, either we saw someone different, or you're flying out into the darkness to fight a ghost. I was like, wow. Really? You think this could not be Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin? It's obviously Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. It can't be the Amazing Spider-Man Green Goblin, because no. Just no. So, Peter Parker goes to look for the Green Goblin, then he sees an electrical guy. while wearing his, new black and gold suit, which is basically which is an inside out Spider-Man suit, which is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. And he sees the electrical man known as Electro, and basically he tries to capture him, but it just goes right through the web shot goes right through him to send him back to the Undercroft, and basically he spots him and then tries to destroy him, and then Sandman from Spider-Man 3 comes out of nowhere. Is like, "Hey Peter, it's me, Flint Marko. You know how I tried to destroy you, but I decided to be a good guy." And then Peter's like, "I'm not your Peter." And he's like, "What? Why are you not my Peter?" And he's like, "I'll explain later. But now we gotta stop this guy." And basically they just stop Electro. And basically Sandman's like, "Wow, a different Peter Parker." And then Spider-Man gives him a high five and he's like, "Whoops." And Sandman's like, "That's okay." And then we see Jamie Foxx returning as Electro. And I was like, yeah, that's a better looking Max Dillon from what I saw in the trailer for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And yeah, basically they just gave him a better, look and stuff in it. And it paid off. And then they send Electro back, and then after Peter Parker sent Electro back, with a new green and yellow, uniform and stuff, because he was somehow naked in the woods for some reason. Sandman's like, "What did you do? Did you kill him? I don't even know you." And he tries to destroy Spider-Man, but Spider-Man just sends him back to the Undercroft, and thus, preventing Spider-Man from getting destroyed by Sandman. And then, Electro's like, "Yeah, you picked the wrong side." And then the Lizard Lizard was like, "Hee hee hee." And then Lizard and Electro start talking, and stuff, and it's crazy. And then we finally get to one of the best parts of the movie. Willem Dafoe acting at his best with the Green Goblin mask. Because Willem Dafoe's like trying to, cover up the glider, and the Goblin mask's like, "Coward! We have a new world to conquer." And he's like, "Leave me alone." And then they go back and forth, and then he destroys the Goblin mask. And I was like, man, he destroyed the Goblin mask? That's sad. But I know a lot of people hate the look of the Green Goblin when it was first released in 2002, but honestly, I liked the Green Goblin. He actually looked more of a Green Goblin. And besides the original Green Goblin, he was green and purple, so you could have called him the Green and Purple Goblin. But, oh well. So, Peter finds, the Green Goblin at Aunt May's little feast thing, and basically she's like, "Hey, maybe you should help him now stop being bad guys and stuff." And Peter takes this in consideration and stuff. And so he basically brings back Green Goblin to the Undercroft, and we have the meeting of the villains, the greatest part of this movie. And he's like, and then Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin was like, "Octavius?" And then Octavius is like, "Osborn?" And then it was like, "What happened?" And Osborn's like, "What happened to you?" It's like, "What happened to me?" And then Octavius is like, "What happened to me? Bro, you are dead." And then they go back and forth and stuff and all this talk. And then Sandman reveals that Green Goblin got impaled by his glider, which was classic. And then he tells Doc Ock that he drowned in the river with his machine. And then he said, "No way, here's what happened. I had Spider-Man by the throat, and then he ended up here." Basically, when in that scene of Spider-Man 2, where he had Peter Parker by the throat, it didn't happen. It happened, but he just disappeared. And then you have Electro says, "I was stuck in the grid, absorbing data, he was about to become pure energy," and then he ended up here as he was about to die. And then Lizard was asked if he died, but we all know he lived, obviously, and Sandman lived. Just only Electro, Green Goblin, and, Doc Ock died in those movies. And then Strange comes in and is like, "Oh, you found the last one." swoosh into a jail cell. And basically, he comes in with a box saying that this will reverse the spell and send all these freaks home to die. And everyone's like, whoa. Technically, the villains were like, whoa, we don't want to die. And like Norman Osborn, he's like freaking out. I was like, help, Peter, help. And then Peter's like, whoa, Strange, we can't send him back. I mean, just look at them. They're clearly ill. And then, like, Strange is like, dude, it's their fate. You can't change it, bro. And thus, Peter Parker just takes the box away from Strange, and basically we have a fight scene with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. And basically, the cheesiest thing about this battle is that he defeats Doctor Strange with geometry. Now, let me tell you something. I am not a fan of geometry. I passed geometry with a D+. That tells you how much I am not a fan of geometry. Geometry sucks. I'm sorry, but it's not my subject. Geometry is garbage. So, what happens in the rest of the movie? Well, Spider-Man basically decides to help them all out, trying to make them no longer bad guys, but Dr. Kirk Connors, aka the Lizard's like, when you try to change somebody, there's always going to be consequences. But, he ignores this. Peter Parker ignores this and just, goes and tries to fix him. The first person he fixes is Doc Ock by giving him a new inhibitor chip, and thus he's no longer an evil supervillain. He's a good guy now. And I was like, whoa, that was pretty cool. Can't wait to see what he does to the other supervillains. And then we see another great performance by Willem Dafoe. He returns as the Green Goblin. Well, basically, his character basically goes from Norman Osborn to Green Goblin in an instant. And I was like, oh boy, this is intense. And then all the supervillains, Sandman, Electro, Green Goblin, and Lizard just basically go on a rampage and stuff. And basically, Green Goblin, fights Peter Parker to a pulp, and basically Aunt May is there trying to, help Peter, and then boom, she gets stabbed by the glider, and then Green Goblin throws a pumpkin bomb, explodes, kaboom, everywhere, and then like, Aunt May dies. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, Aunt May dies. Pretty shocking, but before she died, she says, with great power, there must come great responsibility. Basically, with great power comes great responsibility. Just like what Uncle Ben said, but, instead it's Aunt May. Aunt May says this and she dies. So, yeah, crazy. So, basically, Peter Parker just runs away from, the police because, they don't like Spider-Man for some reason. And thus, Ned and MJ are now sad because they don't know where he is. So, Ned makes a wish that he could see Peter. And then it opens a portal to not Tom Holland's Peter Parker, but Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker. So, yeah, Andrew Garfield's back in the movie. I was like, wow, that's pretty intense. But then when I saw him, I was like, if he's there, then maybe, just maybe, Tobey Maguire is in this movie. And then a few minutes later, they brought in the greatest Spider-Man of all time, Tobey Maguire. And I was like, yes! 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 Just, oh my god, I've been wanting to see Tobey Maguire return as Spider-Man. And he's there. He's there. I have watched this dude for so many years. I'm talking since I watched the first Spider-Man movie, since I watched the second Spider-Man movie, and since the third Spider-Man movie. Seriously. Spider-Man's 1 through 3. I call them the crown jewels of Spider-Man movies. Now, The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, which I saw after No Way Home, I thought they were okay. And then, I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this is what I've been waiting for. This is exactly what I've been waiting for. A multiverse movie with 3 of the original Spider-Men. That's awesome. That is really, really awesome. And thus, they look for Peter Parker. Tom Holland's Peter Parker, and they find him. And basically, they have a long conversation. And then, they talk about, the other 2 Peters, Toby and Andrew, talk about how Uncle Ben and Gwen's deaths were their faults and stuff. And how they shouldn't, Tom Holland's Peter Parker shouldn't be, like them trying to be Debbie Downers and stuff and other crazy things. But, yeah, basically, after, Tom Holland said that Aunt May's last words were great with great power, and then Tobey Maguire says, comes great responsibility. And they're like, and Tom Holland's like, well, how in the heck do you know that? It's like, Uncle Ben said it. Yep. They mentioned Uncle Ben again, which is great. It was great. And then they come together to, make cures for all the evil villains. And basically, Holland repairs the devices for Marco and Electro. And then Andrew had Dr. Connors. And then, Toby makes a cure for Green Goblin. And then after they finish up their stuff, they Ned makes a funny thing happen. He basically says, Peter, and they're like, yeah, and then they're like, oh, sorry, and then they do the Spider-Man meme where they point at each other. It was so crazy, it was so good. And then in the movie they explained Tobey Maguire's web situation. You know how Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tom Holland's Spider-Man have web shooters? But we all know Tobey Maguire shoots web out of his body. Well, Tobey Maguire's like, what's that for? And then Tom Holland's like, oh, these are my web shooters. Why? And then Tobey Maguire just went, zoom, web out of his body. And they're like, that came out of you. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, you can't do that, can you? And they're like, no. And everyone is mesmerized. And then they explain it more. And so they explain it more at the battle on top of the Statue of Liberty. And Andrew's like, so you can like make web fluid in your body? He's like, and Toby's like, I don't want to talk about it. And they're like, no. And like, it's so crazy watching these Spider-Man interact with each other. It's so funny. And Tobey Maguire even mentions Venom from Spider-Man 3, and Andrew Garfield mentions the Rhino from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And like before the battle, before they had this big conversation, Toby's like, my back. And this reminded me of Spider-Man 2 because he was trying to become Spider-Man again, like Spider-Man again, and then boom, he falls down, hurts his back. He's like, my back, oh my back, and I was like, oh my god, that's a callback to Spider-Man 2. It was so great. And then they have the big battle in the Statue of Liberty where they cure Electro by taking away his electric stuff. They make Sandman no longer Sandy with the reverse super collider device, and then they get back the Lizard to being just Dr. Connors with the green gas and stuff. And then Doctor Strange appears after Ned opens a portal. Is like, where is? And Doctor Strange's like, where is he? Where is he? And basically, he sees all the villains being cured by said Tom Holland's Peter Parker. And the crazy thing about curing these bad guys, guess who cured Electro? It was Dr. Otto Octavius, Doc Ock himself. I was like, whoa, Doc Ock's becoming a superhero? That is pretty cool. And then, Andrew talks with Electro, and it's a very heartwarming and touching moment. It was really great moment. But the greatest moment was when Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, had an interaction with Doc Ock again. It was like, yes, that is what we wanted. That is exactly what we wanted. And guess who decides to ruin the party? The Green Goblin, played by Willem Dafoe. And basically, he just, puts a bomb on the box, a pumpkin bomb on the box, and boom! And now the spell's out again, and now it's cracking the universe, and MJ falls. Tom Holland tries to save her, and then, boom! Gets hit by Green Goblin's glider. But guess who saves her? Andrew Garfield saves her. Surprise! Andrew Garfield gets redemption for, failing to save his girlfriend in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Because, Gwen Stacy, she dies at the end. Spoilers if you haven't seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So, yeah. And thus, we have our final battle between Tom Holland's Spider-Man and the Green Goblin. And basically, Tom Holland just lashes all his anger out on Green Goblin, beating him to a pulp. Well, not really to a pulp, but beating him down. And then once he tries to kill him with his own glider, Tobey Maguire steps in to like, no, bro, don't kill him. Don't kill him, bro. It's not what we do. And basically, he prevents Tom Holland from killing Green Goblin. But, oh my god, the next part of this scene just devastated me. Green Goblin stabbed Tobey Maguire. Was like, no! 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 You do not stab Tobey Maguire. That is just ridiculous. I was like, man, this movie's gonna turn from good to suck in just 1.5 seconds. But luckily, Tom Holland cures Green Goblin and gets the Goblin out of Norman Osborn, and he's like, what have I done? I was like, dude, you stabbed Peter Parker. That's what you did. You stabbed Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, you jerk. And then Andrew Garfield's like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I've been stabbed before. And I was like, okay, good. He's going to be okay. And then, Tom Holland's Peter Parker goes to Doctor Strange. He's like, what's happening? And he's like, they're starting to come through, and I can't do anything about it. It's like, there's gotta be, and then Peter Parker, and then Tom Holland's like, there's gotta be a way. And it's like, and Doctor Strange's like, nope, they're all here because of you. And then Tom Holland's Spider-Man does the craziest thing ever. He says, you know how they're all here because of me? Make everyone forget that they know Peter. Make everyone forget who Peter Parker is. And Doctor Strange's like, no. And then Tom Holland's like, but it will work. He's like, yes, it will work, but we'll forget everything about you. Even the Avengers will forget about you and stuff. And then, Peter Parker says his goodbyes. He says his goodbyes to Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, which was a really touching moment. And then says goodbye to Ned and MJ and stuff. And basically, Doctor Strange just makes the spell where everybody forgets Peter Parker ever existed. So basically, everyone does not know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and they don't know who Peter Parker is. And basically, the final moments of the movie is he tries to have Ned and MJ remember him, but he doesn't go through with it. And then he visits Aunt May's grave, and he also gets a visit from Happy Hogan, who doesn't even know him either. And basically, he gets an apartment by himself, and basically, creates him a new Spider-Man suit, which the new Spider-Man suit looks pretty cool. And then the movie ends, and then there's a post-credit sequence with, this post-credit sequence. This one was pretty cool. It had Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, who is also Venom in the movie, and basically they were teasing a possible Venom versus Spider-Man movie. But no, apparently Venom / Eddie Brock goes back to his own universe, and thus we don't get Spider-Man versus Venom, but we do see a piece of symbiote still in Tom Holland's Spider-Man universe. And that was it. But there was also another post-credit scene with the trailer for the Multiverse of Madness, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. But we'll discuss about that movie another time. So yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home was a awesome, awesome movie. Seeing all these old, supervillains and Spider-Man come back into this movie, it just made me happy. The happiest I've been in a long time. And it made a lot of people around the world happy because this movie made over $1.9 billion at the box office. Over $1.9 billion at the box office. Seriously. That is a lot of money that, was made for this movie. It had a $200 million budget, and they destroyed that $200 million budget with over $1.9 billion. Seriously. That's a lot of money. And it was well received by critics and by fans. Seriously. And it was one of the best... It was one of the highest grossing movies of 2021. It should have been the highest grossing movie of all time, but no, it goes to James Cameron's Avatar because, he doesn't like the MCU and stuff. Well, guess what? I have never seen Avatar or Avatar 2, so I'm probably never going to see those movies because I think the MCU is better than what James Cameron is doing. Seriously. And besides, Avengers Endgame kind of beat James Cameron until Avatar got re-released and stuff, and therefore, unfair advantage and stuff. You know what they should do? They should re-release a bunch of the MCU movies, and boom, you're back up at number one. That's what Marvel should do. Seriously, it's what they should do. They need to do it now. Now! But yeah, the highest grossing film of 2021, the 7th highest grossing film of all time, 3rd highest grossing film in the United States and Canada, and basically the best movie to come out since the pandemic was happening. So, yeah, everybody liked this movie, and it was a good movie to come back from, a pandemic and stuff. So, Rotten Tomatoes. I want to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score. So, 93% of critics gave it an approval rating. And basically, it received an A+ on Cinema Score. So, as you can see, it is a well-received movie. And I think it's one of the greatest movies of all time. It is my number one spot as one of my favorite movies of all time. Beating Forrest Gump at number 2. So, yeah, I went from Forrest Gump to being my favorite movie of all time to Spider-Man No Way Home. You figure that out, people. You figure that out hard and long, but you're never going to figure out why. Why did I do this? But who knows? Who knows? But yeah. So it goes Spider-Man No Way Home at number 1, Forrest Gump at number 2, and Shawshank Redemption at number 3. So, yeah. That's my top 3 movies. So, basically, you just gotta figure out that one. So, yeah. I can't wait for the next few Spider-Man movies. I hear they're trying to get Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire back in like, the Spider-Man movies. And I hope they do. But I also heard they might come back in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is a sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I'm really hoping to see, because if I don't, I'm going to be very, very depressed. But either way, it's going to be a good movie because it's freaking Spider-Man. But yeah. So, anyways, guys, I think it's time to take our first break. But when we come back, a recap of this year's March Madness tournament, which made me question why in the blue heck did I suck and didn't win anything, and made me want to quit watching basketball at all, like quit watching the sport of basketball at once. So yeah. So yeah, we're going to take a break real quick, but when we come back, we'll talk about that, so stick around for that. So yeah, Gonna go to break. You're listening to the Colton Rice Show exclusively on the Colton Rice Facebook page. We'll be right back. Alright, we are back after that short little break. And this segment's going to be a little bit short because I went, talking about Spider-Man for about like 40 minutes or so. Even though I was trying to talk about it for about, until the 30-minute mark. But, oh well, I tried. So, therefore, we're going to continue on with, the next topic. So, March Madness 2023 was the biggest crap of crap I have ever seen. It was garbage. Why? I thought, all these top teams, they have a great shot to win the national championship. Woo! Woo! But no, all my brackets are crap, 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 crappity, crap, 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 crap. They're crap. So, here was the first bracket of my Final Four. So, I'm going to give you the Final Four bracket that I had for my first bracket. So I'm going to tell you what my Final Four for all three of my brackets, because I did 3 brackets. So, first bracket. I had Alabama, Houston, Purdue, Kansas in the Final Four, with Purdue and Houston going against each other and Purdue winning the national championship. They didn't happen. They all didn't happen. None of those happened. Why? I don't know. So, here was my second bracket. I had Arizona, Marquette, Houston, Gonzaga in the Final Four. Marquette and Gonzaga going against each other. Marquette winning the national championship. But guess what? It didn't happen because it's garbage. Garbage. I say garbage. And now we have my third bracket, which is the doomsday bracket, as I call it. I had Arizona, Marquette, Kent State, and Gonzaga in the Final Four, with Marquette and Kent State going against each other in the national championship. Marquette winning the national championship, but again, it didn't happen. It's garbage. Garbage up the wazoo. Why? God. Jeez. Wow. I'm angry. I need water after that. Oh, jeez. So yeah, my March Madness brackets were garbage and trash and disrespectful to the freaking college basketball community. Like, what in the world was that crap? Purdue gets upset by a 16 seed team. They should have never won the Big Ten tournament. Ohio State should have won it. And Ohio State should have been in this tournament because they could have won the national championship. They could have been in the first four or a 16th seed, and they could have won the national championship. I think for all the teams who have upset this year, we do not invite back to the tournament because they did not perform to my standards, and they ruined me being, a world champion / national champion of basketball. Seriously, what the heck, people? This is outrageous. Out-freaking-rageous. I have never been so livid in my life, but congratulations, I am livid. My God. My God, my God, my God. So let's talk about March Madness, the first round. Let's talk about the round of 64. Everything seemed great until Furman out of nowhere upsets Virginia. Wow. Wow, what a crazy coincidence. And then Princeton, the Ivy League Princeton Tigers, they upset Arizona. Wow, unbelievable. And then Fairleigh Dickinson upsets Purdue. Wow. Wow, unbelievable. Second time. Crazy. FAU upsets Memphis. Wow. Let's see what else. Auburn upsets Iowa. Wow. Pittsburgh upsets Iowa State. Wow. Penn State upsets Texas A&M. Wow. Just, wow. Unbelievable wows. And now let's start with the round of 32, because that was the only wows I had to say. Creighton upsets Baylor. Wow. Princeton somehow makes it to the Sweet 16. Wow, you think you're good? No, they lose to Creighton in the next round. So that tells you that. That tells you that Princeton, even though they're one of the biggest Ivy League schools in the country, they will still not advance to the Elite Eight because I don't know. They just don't want to. And then, Fairleigh Dickinson, they tried to beat FAU, but guess what? It didn't happen. Trying to make it to the Sweet 16 for the first time ever, a 16 seed. It doesn't happen because why? No 16 seed will ever win the tournament. I am challenging all members, all teams who make it as a 16 seed. I dare you to win the tournament. But it's not going to happen as long as, powerhouses are national champions. So, yeah. And Ohio State can be considered a powerhouse because we have won a national championship. We won it in 1960. I know it's a long time, but I believe in 2007 we should have won, but no, Florida had to ruin it for everybody. Again. Because in 2007, Florida took away our football national championship, and then they decided to take away our basketball national championship. Why? Because Florida ain't fun. So yeah, back to this bracket. Michigan State, they somehow upset Marquette. Wow! They ruined my bracket. Thanks! Just like Fairleigh Dickinson. Thanks, Michigan State and Fairleigh Dickinson. I challenge you to an exhibition game between you two. Basically, I challenge you to play each other. I ain't gonna play against both of you because Ohio State would beat both of you. Cause come on, Ohio State's good. We just have some bad times executing. That's the only thing. Execution. So yeah. Miami upset Indiana. Wow. Arkansas upset Kansas. Wow. And then everything was all normal. And then all of a sudden, Sweet 16, it gets crazy. San Diego State upsets Alabama. Wow! And speaking of Alabama, let me pull this up. Because not only did I somehow have my brackets still here, but I also had my dad's brackets. And he had Alabama winning the national championship. Man. His brackets are trash as mine. That is unbelievable. Let's give a big round of applause to my dad for picking the wrong guy. Picking the wrong team to win. Wow. And then FAU upsets Tennessee. Wow. And then Miami upsets Houston. Wow. And then Gonzaga upsets UCLA. Okay, that was a pretty interesting game. It's not a big wow, so who cares? And then San Diego State makes it to the Final Four. FAU makes it to the Final Four, upsetting Kansas State. Whoa! And then Miami upsets Texas to go to the Final Four. Whoa! And then UConn all of a sudden is back in the Final Four. Woo! So basically you got a former champion going against three newcomers. And San Diego State wins the first one on a buzzer beater. And then, I feel bad for Miami. I wanted Miami to win, but UConn, is just the team, to do stuff. It's just the team that knows how to play in national championship, in national scenarios. And then you got San Diego State and UConn. I was like, yep, UConn's winning this. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And they won. UConn is back on the map. They are your 2023 national champions for basketball. Congratulations to UConn. I didn't think you would make it that far, but apparently you have surprised everyone. And yeah, they surprised everyone again, just like they did before in their last 4 national championships. And also, I want to congratulate former Ohio State football player Maurice Clarett on winning the national championship with UConn, because he's actually a special consultant with the UConn men's basketball team. So congratulations to Maurice Clarett, everybody. He's got not only a college football national championship, but a college basketball national championship. He's got 2 national championships in different sports. That is what I call impressive. Seriously, that is impressive. And I'm happy for Maurice Clarett. He's awesome. He's turned around his life so much that he actually is now a special consultant with the UConn men's basketball team. That is incredible. If you want a redemption story, that Maurice Clarett, that is your redemption story. That is a big time redemption story. Seriously, he has turned his life around, definitely. But yeah, that's it for March Madness. It's time for me to go to a break, because I need to rest my voice after all that yelling and stuff. So, yeah, that was a quick segment, and now we're going to take another break. But when we come back, the remake of Resident Evil 4, do I think it's good, or do I think it's hot garbage like the original? Which I didn't like the original. And I'll explain stuff and about, the game and stuff. So stick around for that. So time for the break. So you're listening to the Colton Rice Show exclusively on the Colton Rice Facebook page. We'll be right back. And we are back. Now, before we go to the next topic, I have some very sad breaking news here. Former Ohio State cornerback Jeffrey Okudah has been traded to the Atlanta Falcons. Why is this sad news? It's because the Detroit Lions have done him dirty. Seriously. A former first-round pick getting traded to Atlanta, and in return, Detroit gets a fifth-round pick. That is just disrespectful. Detroit just did Jeffrey Okudah dirty. Seriously. That is just rude. Detroit needs to apologize. That is disrespectful. Disrespectful. Unbelievable. But now, to the next topic of today. So, recently, a new video game has come out. A couple of weeks ago, on March 24th. It's called Resident Evil 4. It's a remake of the original Resident Evil 4 that came out in 2005. And I could safely say that Resident Evil 4, the remake, is way better than the original. I did not like the original because there was no easy difficulty. There was no easy difficulty in the original. Only certain versions of the game had an easy difficulty. But the American version, the US version, had no easy difficulty. No easy difficulty. They only had normal, hard, and professional difficulty. That was garbage. If you do not have an easy difficulty on a game, then you should just stop. Just stop. That is just pull the game off the shelf and then fix it to have an easy difficulty. But no. I had a tough time beating the original. Like, seriously, I would just run out of ammo, run out of everything, run out of health items. And it was hard to, defeat enemies and stuff. Like, I had to resolve to a knife to defeat enemies. Like, I would run out of ammo for, like, the guns, run out of ammo for, like, for, like grenades and stuff. I would run out of, like, flashbangs, incendiary grenades. Like, the game is just so tough. It was tough on what limited items you have. Like, I couldn't get a green herb, a red herb, or a yellow herb to increase my maximum health intake. Because in Resident Evil 4, they start you out with a little bit of health. And to increase your maximum health, you had to find these yellow herbs and combine them with, like, red or green herbs so you can increase your health. And that was just tough trying to find all these things. Like, seriously. I couldn't find a bunch of stuff in that game, in the original game. But luckily, towards the end of the game, it was a little bit of a cakewalk. And I was able to beat it, but my God, that was garbage. I died so many times that I was like, I paid like $10 for this. I should get a refund. But I didn't. I kept playing it and I finally beat it, but I never touched it ever again, stating I will never, ever play that game again. I will never play the original Resident Evil 4 ever again. If they make a remake of it, I will play it. But I'm never touching the original Resident Evil 4 again. And thus, Capcom, which their real name is Capsule Computers, but it's shortened to Capcom because, Capsule Computers is a little bit of a mouthful. So Capcom, they decided to remake the game, and it is really better than the original. Let me tell you something. It is better than the original. There's an easy difficulty, which is assisted difficulty, and it is spectacular. It is spectacular. The story is great. Ashley, how you have to escort Ashley throughout the game. She doesn't have her own health meter. In the original, she had her own health meter, and you also had to increase it with the yellow herbs. But she doesn't have a health meter. If she gets hit twice, it's game over. Which is much easier than, the original. Seriously. I think Capcom just hit one out of the park. That is the best remake since Resident Evil 2 that I played. Like, seriously. Resident Evil 2 remake was pretty good, but Resident Evil 4 just blew Resident Evil 2 out of the water. And I also played the Resident Evil 3 remake. It was pretty good too. But I think 4 is better than 2 and 3's remake. I think it's better than Resident Evil's remake. Seriously. Like, Resident Evil 4 is that good. The only one thing I had a problem with was the briefcase. Like, in the original, you also had a briefcase to carry your items around, but I don't know. I just don't like the briefcase. It's just complicated. They brought the briefcase back for like Resident Evil Village for some reason, but if you ask me, I'd rather have like, a standard like infinite like an infinite storage component like in Silent Hill. They had infinite storage. Like, when you play a Silent Hill game like Silent Hills 1, 2, or 3, you basically had infinite storage and you could pick up any item and you can use it. So basically you can do anything. See, I wanted something like Resident Evil doing that, but no. Resident Evil's like basically mainly survival horror. So basically trying to not like it's basically trying to survive the scariness and not use up all your items as quickly as possible. Because they want you to preserve items rather than, just use them up already. But, it's not a problem with me. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't, I just don't care. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's whatever. It is whatever. So, if you don't know the story of Resident Evil 4, basically, the plot of Resident Evil 4 is that the president's daughter has been kidnapped, who is named Ashley, and Leon S. Kennedy from the second Resident Evil game gets recruited by the president to save his daughter. Basically, after the Raccoon City incident, he basically joins the government and basically does missions for the U.S. government and stuff to, prevent like bioweapons that are happening and stuff. And basically he gets sent to Europe to find the president's daughter because that's where she was kidnapped. and, well, technically kidnapped 2. And basically, the village that she was kidnapped to, the villagers that live in that village, have all changed. Probably like, how they all changed? Well, their eyes are red, and they want to eliminate you for some odd reason. So, therefore, Leon must survive in this village and stop what's ever causing them to all go crazy. And basically, he meets a guy named Luis Serra, who basically was a former researcher at Umbrella, and basically discovered a new disease, well, new virus that is basically controlling the villagers. It's called Las Plagas, which is Spanish for the plague. And basically, this cult group called the Los Illuminados use Las Plagas to control everybody. So basically, Leon has to stop them while also having Las Plagas in his body, because he gets injected with it from the village chief who works under the top leader of Los Illuminados, which is Osmond Sadler, who is a very bad guy, and he's pretty evil. And the village chief is basically the guy who runs the village. Sadler has two main, what's it called? Like, servants, or whatever. The first one is the village chief, which is the guy who runs the village. And then the second guy is a guy named Ramon Salazar, who is a guy who runs his own castle and is very evil. So basically, Leon finds Ashley and then goes around defeating a bunch of villagers and stuff who have been taken over by Las Plagas. And then he defeats the village chief, who turns out to be a giant centipede. And yes, he is a giant centipede. And then they get to the castle of Salazar, and basically, they just go around. Ashley and Leon just go around the castle trying to avoid stuff. Ashley gets kidnapped again. She gets kidnapped over and over in this game, which is a lot, but it's kind of refreshing when she gets kidnapped. Unfortunately, I had to say that, because when you have to make sure she doesn't get injured. Like, every time that she gets hit, she goes down, and if she gets hit again, you get a game over. So you gotta take really good care of her, and it's very annoying. Like, you want to advance in the game, but you gotta go pick up Ashley because she got injured and stuff, and basically, all that stuff wastes time, and it makes your time terrible, and you'll probably get a terrible grading on your performance after you beat the game. But yeah, she gets captured on and off again, and then, and then you fight Salazar as a flying monster. But in the original, he's technically a wall monster, but it's whatever. And then you finally get to the last area of the game, and you figure out that, but before that, you basically figure out that Krauser, your former mentor or something, your former commander, basically is alive after, saying he died in some sort of accident. And basically he brings up an operation that he and Leon did back in an old Resident Evil game called Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles, which basically is a backstory of how Leon got, started doing missions with Jack Krauser. And basically, when you get to the final area, and basically you and Krauser fight before you get to Salazar, technically. And Salazar actually kills Luis Serra, who also helps you out in this game, which is pretty crazy. In the original, Luis only helped out in the cabin, and he also helped out in the cabin in the remake. But Luis in the original, he died at the castle by Osmond Sadler. But in this game, he gets killed by Jack Krauser, and he dies in the mine, which they found, which the mine contained Las Plagas, and thus that's why this outbreak happened, because they mined for a disease they didn't mean to find. So yeah, and then once you get to the final area, you fight a bunch of Osmond Sadler's goons and stuff. And then you finally get to fight Jack Krauser, who is mutated into a monster himself. And basically you defeat Krauser and thus continue on and basically get to fight Osmond Sadler as the final battle, as he's also mutated into a monster. He's a spider. A very creepy spider. Creepier than the original. And also, Ada is also in this game, who's also from Resident Evil 2. Basically, she's now working for Albert Wesker, who was the antagonist in the first Resident Evil and Resident Evil Code Veronica. And basically, he wants the amber, which contains Las Plagas. And basically, Ada shows up, a few times in this game and stuff. It's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. And there's also one thing I remembered. There was a boss that was cut in the remake. So in the original, there was a boss called It, which was some kind of weird bug. Like some kind of weird bug boss in the original that also dug underground. Basically that boss was cut in the original, which I'm glad, because that boss was kind of tough, and you were on a timer to run away from the thing before it brought down like a piece of this structure you were on. So I'm glad they cut that boss. Yeah. And then what else happened in the remake that I'm trying to remember? Oh, these stupid, annoying enemies called Regenerators and Iron Maidens, they came back, and I do not like the Regenerators or Iron Maidens, because in order for them to be, like, fully eliminated, you have to destroy, like, the parasites that are in them. And once you do, congratulations, you get it like a jewel that they spawn out. So yeah, a lot of other enemies you kill will either drop like treasures or like money, which is pretty interesting. It's like the original. They either drop money, treasure, or ammo, or health items. They basically drop items for you to collect. And then once you defeat Osmond Sadler, boom, you get Ashley back and stuff. Basically, you save Ashley, get on a jet ski, and basically just zoom on out of there as the island just self-destructs. And yeah, game over, you win, congratulations. Thus, ending Resident Evil 4 now. The Resident Evil 4 remake, I think, is definitely better, because it has way much more character development, way much more interesting stuff to do, and a lot of replay value, especially since you want to unlock everything. There's a couple particular items that you have to unlock in order to use, that are pretty tough. I'm probably not going to unlock every single item and or try to, get every single thing unlocked in the game, because it's pretty tough. And in order to get an S+ rank, you have to play the game once. If you play the game multiple times, you can't get an S+ ranking, which is so stupid. Like, I deserve to have an S+ rank for like multiple, playthroughs. But no, apparently if you start a new game continuing with your old file, you're basically preventing yourself from an S plus rank, which is so stupid that makes me want to throw my controller at a wall. Don't know why, but it does. It just does. So yeah, basically I would give the Resident Evil 4 remake out of 100 would be a 98. A 98 out of 100. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. If you want to play the Resident Evil 4 remake, it is available on Xbox Series X, Xbox One, PlayStation 5, and PlayStation 4. It is rated M for mature. The game on current gen systems, which is Xbox Series X and PS5, it's going to be $69.99 or $59.99, don't know. But yeah, if you want to play the game, it's going to cost you some bucks. I think it's the same price as the past gen for PS4 and Xbox One. So yeah, if you want to play the game, it's going to cost you about probably 60 to 70 bucks. 70 bucks for the deluxe edition, 60 bucks for the standard edition. I got the deluxe edition because I wanted the cool extra features there. So yeah, it's whatever. Alright, so yeah, Resident Evil 4, the remake, it's better than the original. Seriously, it's way better than the original. Do not play Resident Evil 4 2005, which is the original one. Play the remake. It's way better. Alright, so time for me to take another break. But when we come back, it's time to talk about Chick Fil-A's reward system and why it's kinda weird and stuff. So yeah, stick around for that. You're listening to the Colton Rice Show on the Colton Rice Facebook page. We'll be right back. Alright, we are back, and now for our final topic of today, Chick Fil-A. They have a rewards program where if you buy Chick Fil-A in-store or on the app, you get points. Points towards, a variety of stuff. A variety of food items. And recently they had a points increase for a bunch of items, and I'm like, okay. But I was like, okay, this is probably not going to be like, it's probably not going to be like, that much. Besides, I only use my points for like a free 8-piece nugget to go with my 12-piece nugget and my 2 large fries. Because Chick Fil-A, it's pretty good. It's pretty freaking delicious. Seriously, it is. So, for like 200 points, you get a free ice cream cone, or as they call it, an ice dream cone. For 300 points, you can get a chocolate chunk cookie, chocolate fudge brownie, hash brown size, or a small waffle potato fry. For 400 points, you can get a coffee, freshly brewed iced tea, kale crunch side, or a medium waffle potato fry, or a soft drink for free. For 500 points, you can get a large waffle potato fry. For 600 points, you can get 2-count chicken strips, 5-count nuggets, 8 ounces of the sauces, an iced coffee, a lemonade, or a Sunjoy. And then for 700 points, you can get a 4-piece count chicken minis, a chicken breakfast sandwich, or a sausage bacon breakfast sandwich. For 800 points, you can get 5-piece grilled nugget, chicken sandwich, a cup of soup, frosted beverages, a fruit cup, a Greek yogurt parfait, a mac and cheese, a milkshake, a side salad, which I thought they removed side salads, but who knows, or a spicy chicken sandwich. Then for 900 points, you can get a 3-piece chicken strips, an 8-piece chicken nugget, an egg white grill, a hash brown scramble bowl, or a hash brown scramble burrito. And then for 1,000 points, you can get an 8-piece grilled chicken nugget, a deluxe sandwich, or a spicy deluxe sandwich. And then for 1,200 points, you can get a 12-piece nugget, a 12-piece chicken strip, a bowl of chicken noodle soup, a grilled chicken sandwich, or a kid's meal for free for 1,200 points. And then for 1,500 points, you can get 12-count grilled nuggets, 6 cookies, a Cool Wrap, a gallon of freshly brewed iced tea, or a grilled chicken club sandwich for 1,500 points. Then for 1,700 points, you can get a 10-count chicken minis. And then we get to some of the big ones. For 2,000 points, you can get a salad, like a big salad. Over 2,500 points, you can get your entire meal for free. And then for these big signature member rewards, for 2,500 points, you get 30-count nuggets for free. And then for 3,000 points, you can get for free a gallon of Sunjoy or a gallon of lemonade for free. Now, that's a lot of points. Like, you need to be eating Chick Fil-A for a long time to earn these kinds of points. Like, seriously. That is a lot of points that I do not have. Although I really wish I had these amount of points. But unfortunately, I don't. If I did have any points, like a lot of points, I would use them on probably like a 30-piece count nugget, maybe some large fries as well for free, you know. But I don't have that much points because I don't eat Chick-fil-A that much. I only eat Chick-fil-A when I'm like at work because there's like a Chick-fil-A next to my workplace. But yeah, Chick-fil-A, they have a lot of their points. The points thing is like incredibly high. I don't know why it's incredibly high. Like, I remember, like, for 700 points, you can get, you know, an 8-piece chicken nugget. But now it's 200 points more. It's 900 points. I'm like, really? You're just gonna increase my chicken nuggets? You know, I think like, you know, how many points would you spend on an 8-piece chicken nugget? I would pay like 500 points for an 8-piece chicken nugget because it's just 8 pieces. And then the 5-piece chicken nugget would be like 250 points, and then the 12-piece would be 1,000 points, and then for 30 nuggets, let's make it 3,000 points. Like, seriously. It deserves to have like 3,000 points, not 2,500 points. The 30-count nugget is definitely a 3,000 point one. Seriously. It is. It has to be. Like, come on. I'm pretty sure I would spend 3,000 points on a 30-piece nugget. But no. Unfortunately, you gotta get 2,500. And then for a 5-piece, you have to get 600. And then for an 8-piece, 900. And then for a 12-piece, 1,200. So, obviously, the points system for Chick-fil-A is a little bit crazy, but, you know, people are still going to eat Chick-fil-A because it's delicious. So, sometimes, Chick-fil-A will just send you rewards for, will just send you rewards out of nowhere for, like, an iced tea or a chicken sandwich. I mean, I would, you know, I don't like iced teas. If it was a free soft drink, then yeah, I would get it. But I'm not a fan of iced teas. I'm more of a lemonade guy. I would drink a lemonade. I never tried their lemonade before, but I would give it a shot. I I don't like iced teas. I don't like either the sweetened or unsweetened iced teas. Um, I've tried on Arnold Palmer before. It's okay. It's just okay. Like, honestly, sometimes the rewards they give you random are just like not a lot of people's like, cup of tea. Excuse me. But I would take the chicken sandwich if I had, a plan that if I decided, I'm feeling a chicken sandwich, but I always go with my chicken nuggets because chicken nuggets are delicious. They're really, really delicious. Now, sometimes when you do surveys, they also give you like a reward sometimes, but sometimes they don't. But I feel like if Chick Fil-A should like if Chick Fil-A wants to like get a lot of customers, like, figure out what their preferences, like send rewards like what they usually get at, Chick-fil-A, instead of like sending them a coupon for a free spicy chicken sandwich, like, and the person's like, I don't like spicy chicken sandwiches. I like what I get at Chick-fil-A, which is like 12-piece nugget, large fry, large drink. Then yeah, that'd be great. If you can like make either the nuggets, the fries, or the drink free next time they're there. But yeah, if Chick-fil-A just needs to do more preference, like customer preference rewards. Like, if they sent me a reward for a free 8-piece now, I would definitely go to Chick-fil-A. Seriously. I would get my regular, 12-piece count with, 2 large fries and my Chick-fil-A sauce and my large Coca-Cola. Because Coca-Cola is the dominant soda in the world because Pepsi lost the NASCAR battle. And yes, I did say Pepsi lost the NASCAR battle. And we'll be talking about NASCAR sometime later in the future of the show. Don't know when, but you'll just have to wait and see. So yeah. Yeah, but if they do more, like, what the customer likes at Chick-fil-A. Like, I like their chicken strips as well. They're pretty good as well. But I'm more of a chicken nugget guy. I tried their chicken sandwiches before. They're pretty good. Like, I would try their deluxe chicken sandwich for free, but I don't have the points for it, sadly. But if they ever give me a reward for a free deluxe sandwich, I would try it out. Put some Chick-fil-A sauce on it, see if it tastes good. It'll probably taste good. Now, I know there's like pickles on, they put pickles on their chicken sandwich. I don't know if that's like the chicken sandwiches I've had before, which are like cafeteria chicken sandwiches at like the schools, like middle school, high school, elementary school. It's just a plain old chicken sandwich, chicken bun. Like, you got the bun, and then you put the chicken sandwich on the bun, and then you close it, and it's just a plain old chicken sandwich. Like, I need toppings. I need something to go with the chicken sandwich. Like a pickle. I like pickles. Pickles are good. They're basically dried up cucumbers, I think. I think that's what they are. Dried up cucumbers. Somebody fact check me. I don't know the freaking cucumber lifestyle that turns them into pickles. Like, seriously. I will make my own pickles. I will get cucumbers and make them pickle, and therefore cut the cucumber that turned into a pickle into, slices of pickles, and then, put them on a chicken sandwich and eat them. Because that's what I'll do now. I don't have any pickles with me, sadly. I don't have any freaking, like, hamburger-style pickles to put on my chicken sandwiches at home. Man, me talking about chicken sandwiches at Chick Fil-A makes me hungry. I need to get sponsorships. Maybe I should get sponsorships from Chick Fil-A. Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe McDonald's. They have good chicken nuggets too, and so does Wendy's. Any of the restaurants need to, sponsor me, please. I like your food. Maybe Wendy's. They were born in Columbus, Ohio. Maybe I should support local, businesses. Well, technically Wendy's is no longer a local business. They're just a worldwide business now. But back then they were just a local business back in 1969 when they first opened in downtown Columbus, technically. Because Wendy's is the birthplace. Well, Columbus, Ohio is the birthplace of Wendy's, one of the greatest burger places of all time. Seriously. Recently I actually went to Wendy's, and a couple of weeks ago I went to Wendy's because I recently boycotted Wendy's. It was technically it was 2 months ago that I actually went to Wendy's. It was like in February. So I actually boycotted Wendy's because I somehow got like food poisoning from them, and I did not have Wendy's for a long, long time. And I think it was like a year. I never had Wendy's for like over a year. And then once I finally decided to have Wendy's again, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything. Down to the last minute detail. Seriously. I had like my usual, which is like 3 junior bacon cheeseburgers, a large fry, and, a large drink. But I also included a 4-piece nugget, and the 4-piece nugget was pretty good. It's pretty good stuff. But yeah, Chick-fil-A, they need to, redo their rewards points things a little bit and stuff. So, yeah. Just let them know. Just let them know that they need to change it up a bit. Just a little bit. Alright, so we're going to take our final break, but when we come back, folks, we have a fumble of the week. So yeah, stay tuned for the fumble of the week, which is coming up after this break. So yeah, we're going to go to break right now. You're listening to the Colton Rice Show exclusively on the Colton Rice Facebook page. We'll be back. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a fan-favorite tradition here on the Colton Rice Show. It is time for the fumble of the week.
Ah, crap!
This week's fumble of the week goes to a particular hockey team known as the Michigan Wolverines hockey team, the men's hockey team. They tried to win the NCAA men's hockey championship, but unfortunately, they lost to Quinnipiac. And they later went on to win, and Quinnipiac later went on to win the national championship. Therefore, Michigan, even though they won the Big Ten ice hockey tournament and the Big Ten championship this year, I believe. I'm pretty sure they did. I'm not going to research it because don't need to, because, you know, Michigan thinks they're all good at hockey and stuff, but to be honest, I don't think so. No, just don't think so. But even though they've won a bunch of national championships, it doesn't matter. It's ancient history. As a Buckeye fan, I think anything that Michigan wins is ancient history. It's just so ancient, so old that I just don't care. I absolutely do not care. And, you know, seeing how Michigan's, you know, hockey team had a bunch of star players, and one of them won, like, the MVP award, and they still lost in the Frozen Four and not able to win a national championship, that just spells something. What's that word? It's mysterious how they can win so many awards and conference championships but not win the big one. I wonder why. Well, I'll tell you why. Because ever since I was born, which is 2001, Michigan has not won a national championship in hockey or basketball or football or baseball. Because you want to know why? Because while I'm still around, Ohio State's still gonna win a bunch of stuff and will still beat Michigan. by any means necessary. And if, Ohio State loses, that's okay. We'll get them next time. But if it happens continuously in a row, then we have a problem here. Because Ohio State still is better than Michigan. They're still better than Michigan. I will still continue to say it as long as I live and as long as this show is still on the air and I'm still doing it and everything and like everything, anything and anywhere and whatever, I will still defend Ohio State. Win, lose, or somehow tie if there is even any ties in sports anymore. I mean, there's some, but not a whole lot technically. So yeah. But yeah, that's it. That's the fumble of the week. It goes to the Michigan University hockey team for losing in the Final Four in hockey, which is called the Frozen Four, because somehow they couldn't, they somehow couldn't win it. Even though they had the best players on the team, they still lost. Which is just plain funny to me. Ooh, that gives me the time to use this. Yeah. Price is Right losing horn for the Michigan University hockey team. Who's this week's fumble of the week. Alright, so with that, guys, that is it. It is 2 o'clock now. That is my time. Thank you all so much for tuning in today's show. If you enjoyed the show, please consider following this page or liking it so you can watch more of me talking about crazy stuff and fun topics. So Friday, there will be a show. I will have to think of some topics, but I think I can manage it. So, yeah. Friday there's going to be a show. Don't know what the topics are, but I will try to figure some out. The show's probably going to go planned as usual, 12 p.m. noon. But if something happens, like I may go and see the new Super Mario Brothers movie, possibly Friday, I don't know yet. But if I do, the show's probably going to be delayed. But if not, the show will be on as usual, 12 noon. But if I go see this movie, which is the Super Mario Brothers movie, then it's probably going to be delayed an hour or 30 minutes. But we'll just have to wait and see. So, yeah. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me here. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys Friday for the next show. So, yeah, with that, I'll see you guys Friday. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, and, yeah, that's it. So, yeah, I'll see you guys Friday. Disappointed! Technically, it's not see you next week, but it's see you. It should have been saying see you Friday, but oh well. Didn't have time to, change it. But anyways, yeah. Anyways, see you guys later.